I spent the better part of a week hatching thousands of eggs to discover the most reliable way of passing down IVs and passive skills in Palworld to create the most powerful creatures in the game. And boy, oh boy, is this an effective method of getting everything you want. The breeding system, when incorporating IVs, can seem pretty daunting, but there are a ton of tricks that you can do, well, maybe not a ton of things, but definitely some specific things, to really improve the odds of you creating the perfect pal. This is a nearly perfect IV Shadowbeak that I created, while also passing down 4 gold passives, Legend, Musclehead, Ferocious, and Lord of the Underworld, to create an absolute monster. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with IVs, that stands for individual values. This is a hidden stat allocation on all of your pals. It comes on health, attack, and defense. There is none for work speed. Currently, there is no way to see the IV percent or numbers in-game. I'm hoping they add something in the future for this, but you have 2 options available to you. If you're on console, you're going to have to use an IV calculator. I'll use the one on palpedia.net. If you're on PC, you have options to use the calculator or to use mods. I'm currently using mods, which is why I can see my IVs in-game. I do have a video available on my channel for how to install these mods and how they work. I'll leave a link in the description to that, but I'll show how to use the calculator right now for everybody else. Now, right now, we want to figure out the IVs of this level 6 Shadowbeak. So in the calculator, we need to set the level to, we obviously need to select which pal we're using, which is Shadowbeak. I'll also leave a link to this in the description as well. When you're checking IVs, you need to make sure that your pal condensation levels are accurate. So I got to reset this one. I need to make sure that if you've put any kind of souls into it, you need to input how many you've done as well. So it's a lot easier to check these IVs on a fresh pal. So now we're set up to be able to do this. Right now, the calculator shows 998 health. We're at 996, so if you click one down, it shows 994. These calculators aren't perfect, so we have a bonus of somewhere in between 29% and 30% according to this calculator. We could also go to the calculate IV bonus, which we could just type in the actual number that we have. So we have a 29.44 to 30% IV bonus on here, and then we have a 137 in the defense, which gives us a 30 out of 30 for our IVs. For our attack, we have a 5.56 to a 9.26 for our attack. And then we have a 29.44 to a 30% for our HP. So if you're not using a mod, what I would then do is I would take these numbers, I would just go with 29, 5, and 30, and I would input this in here so that way you can easily track it. So 29, 5, and 30. This allows you to easily be able to track all of the IVs on your pals without needing mods. Now, for the rest of the video, I will just be using the mod because it's going to be easier than going back and forth to 2 different things. And if you do want to know how to install the mods, definitely check out the video on how to add them. Now, every pal in the game has these, and it is a randomly generated number between 1 and 100 when the pal spawns into the world, or when your pals breed together and lay an egg. There is no way to physically change these unless you're using an editing software, but these IVs can be passed down through generations through breeding and crossbreeding. And the rate at which these IVs actually transfer down to babies is extremely high. And there's certain things that you can do to improve the odds of acquiring IVs from your parents, though you can still get random numbers even through breeding. So there is a high chance, about 50%, that an egg you hatch will inherit at least 1 to 2 of the IVs from both parents, or from one. And I'd say about a 20 to 30% chance that a baby will inherit 3 IVs from both parents, and it could be the highest IVs or it could even be the lowest IVs of those parents. But even with that, you can still get mutations, where you get a number that neither of the parents have, or inherit an IV in between the range of the 2 parents. Say you have a parent like the Shadowbeak with 99 in health, 20 in attack, and 100 in defense, and you breed it with this Shadowbeak with 99 in health, 92 in attack, and 100 defense. You could inherit the 99 health, the 92 attack, and the 100 in defense, or you could inherit none of these at all from either parents, or you could get, say, 99 in attack, 100 in defense since both parents have them, and then a range within the 20 and 92 of the attack, or it could be a completely random number. So it's a little bit weird how it works, but once you hatch enough eggs, there is a pattern and a method to the madness. So long story short, I'm going to be showing you the best method to pass down IVs and passive skills to create the most powerful pals. So now that you understand IVs, let's get into some theory crafting that I've been doing a ton of on how to transfer these IVs and passive skills. We've got a pretty great example set up. I took 3 breeding pairs and I hatched 8 eggs from each to see what I could transfer. Now my end game is a shadow beak. I want to create a perfect shadow beak, and we've been doing some experimentation here, mainly just focusing on how IVs transfer and how to transfer passive skills. So I've gone to some extremes here to show some examples. Now this all started because I got an amazing Fanglope. I hatched a Fanglope with Musclehead, Ferocious, Swift, and Legend with nearly perfect IVs, a 96 out of 100 in health, a 92 out of 100 in attack, and a 91 out of 100 in defense. This thing is absolutely amazing, and I want to see just how difficult it would be to transfer all of these IVs and passive skills the way I have it set up. Honestly, it's been a really interesting process. Now, I bred this with a Univolt. I didn't care about the passive skills or the IVs on this one because I wanted to see how efficient the pass down from the best pal I had on just about anything could work. So my first Kitsune had Musclehead, Swift, and Ferocious, with a 75 in health, a 92 in attack, and 100 in defense. So we got the 92 attack from the Fanglope, we got a completely random number for the health, and somehow got a max defense. The second egg I hatched had 93 from the HP, which we got from the Univolt, a 92 in attack, which we got from the Fanglope, and a random number for the defense. Our third Kitsune somehow got a 7 in the HP department, and a 92 in the attack, which we got from the Fanglope. We got a 47 in the defense. The Univolt had a 46, so it could have maybe somehow been inherited from that. But then our fourth egg actually hatched the Kitsune that we ended up using at the end, which was a 99 in HP, a 71 in attack, and a 37 in defense. But it also had Legend, Musclehead, Swift, and Ferocious on here. So on our fourth egg, we either transferred or upgraded 2 of the stats from the Fanglope, and we got kind of bad defense, which is okay. If we go down the rest of these, I don't believe I got anything any better. I got random passive skills, or just 1 passive skill, with not great IVs. So out of my 8 eggs, I actually got 2 that were pretty viable, but I also have a new breeding pair that I could consider using for my Kitsune specifically if I wanted to. What I should do now is I should take this first Kitsune we got, with the 75 in health, the 92 in attack, and the 100 in defense, with Musclehead, Ferocious, and Swift, which is a female, and I could take it with this one here, which has the Legend passive skill, which is the only one this Kitsune was missing, but it has the 97 in HP, 87 in attack, and 64 in defense. So the hopes here is that we would breed these together, get all 4 passive skills, but transfer the HP from the Legend Kitsune and the attack and defense from the Musclehead, Swift, and Ferocious Kitsune, giving us all 4 of the passive skills with the highest IVs from both parents. Now, I'm going to be testing doing this to see how effective it is. I did breed this Kitsune, and we'll get into that in a second. But I also needed to make an Astagon, because a Kitsune and an Astagon, when bred together, will make a Shadow Beak. So I grabbed a random beacon with Vanguard on here. But the reason I did this is it had a 98 in HP, an 81 in attack, and a 77 in defense, which is pretty good. Then we got a Necromus with a 91 in HP, 89 in attack, and a 70 in defense. So all of these IVs were really good, and I really wanted to focus on the IV transfer more than anything at first. We also have Legend and Lord of the Underworld on here, which are going to be 2 good skills to have on a Shadow Beak. Now, the first Astagon we hatched had 98 in the HP, 89 in attack, and 77 in defense, which means our first egg transferred the best HP and the best defense from our beacon, and we got the high attack from our Necromus. We also got Legend, Lord of the Underworld, Vanguard, and Runner on this. That was probably the luckiest egg I've ever gotten. That being said, one thing that you'll notice here is when we're trying to transfer 4 golds down a line, it is so hard to actually get all 4 of those onto a baby pal. You'll more often than not get 1 or 2 and a couple of random ones. It is really difficult to transfer down 4 golden passive skills all at once. And we're going to get into that here in a second. But what's great about this is we got all the IVs we wanted right on our first try, with some good passive skills. Now, our next Astagon had 91 in HP, 89 in attack, and 70 in defense. Not as good as our first one. We did get some good passive skills on here. We still got Vanguard. You'll notice almost every single one of these has Vanguard on it. It seems to transfer down at an incredibly high rate, and I've noticed that with certain skills as well, which is unfortunately going to end up tainting the bloodline a little bit of trying to transfer all the right skills. So it's something you're going to have to pay attention to. But our third Astagon had 98 in HP, 62 in attack, 77 in defense. So we got 2 out of the 3 on this one. And I don't think we actually got another one with the 3 out of the 3 IVs. But one thing that you can pay attention to when you're transferring down the IVs and the passive skills is that if you have say your first 2 eggs, you had the 89 in attack, a 98 in the HP, and a 77 on defense, you can actually breed these 2 together and you'll have a very high rate of having a baby with all 3 of the highest IVs. But you can kind of see what I'm going at here is every time that you hatch something from your breeding pair when you're trying to transfer either passive skills or IVs, or both, always pay attention to what's coming down on the babies because you can just breed them back to each other to have a higher chance of acquiring the passive skills, or more specifically for this test, the IVs. Now this is where things get interesting. We got our high IV Astagon with the 4 random gold skills, and then we got our high IV Kitsune with a low IV in defense with all of the passive skills that we want to get on our Shadowbeak. So my goal here is to see how this would transfer down, mainly just focusing on IVs without worrying too much about passive skills. Now you'll notice I'm going to be getting very high IV Shadowbeaks here. So I got a 98, 89, 77 on my first Shadowbeak, which is, once again, the 3 highest IVs from my 2 parents. So I got the 98, the 89, and the 77 from Astagon. The only way this could have gotten better is if I got the 99 from Kitsune, but I got all 3 traits from Astagon. But I only got Swift and Pacifist on here. But this is definitely a contender for a Shadowbeak we're going to use breeding down the road. Now my second Shadowbeak only had a 19 in health, a 68 in attack, and a 77 in defense. We got a 9, 25, 37. We got a 99, 89, and 74 Shadowbeak with just Runner on it. So we've got 2 contenders here, depending on what we want to breed down the road. Then we got a 98, 5, and 30, pretty much garbage because all of its passive skills are bad too. Then I got an 81, 43, 37, pretty much garbage as well. Then I got a 98, 33, and 79. So we actually got a defense mutation here with a higher defense stat than we had before. And it does have Swift on it, so this is another contender for us breeding down the road for our Shadowbeaks. And then our last one, we got a 99 in the HP, a 61 in attack, and a 77 in defense with Ferocious, Runner, and Musclehead on here. So out of our 8 eggs, we got 3 contenders that could be really good for passing this down onto a Shadowbeak. And we still have opportunities to improve the bloodline, which is what we're going to end up doing too, just to continue our testing. So I hatched 10 more Shadowbeaks. I combined some really good Kitsune that I got from my Kitsune breeding with one of the Astagons that I had with great stats as well. Out of this combination, I was able to get a Ferocious and Musclehead with 92 attack and 100 defense, with 92 attack IV and 100 in the defense IV. I also have a Legend with 99 HP, 92 attack, and 100 defense, which is almost near perfect. That's pretty much where I want it to be. And essentially now I want to work on these passive skills. So I've got pals with really great IVs, and I've realized there's really a trick to getting passive skills. Now I could take this Shadowbeak that's a male with Ferocious and Musclehead with 92 attack and 100 defense, and this female Shadowbeak with 99 in the HP, 92 in the attack, 100 in defense, and Legend, and I could very easily get a baby with all of the best IVs, Ferocious, Musclehead, and Legend. And just to show that, we're gonna do it, but it's not the way that I would recommend. And I don't recommend this because at the end of the day, our goal is to get 4 golden skills, not 3. And it seems there's a bit of a trick to passing down these passive skills. We're gonna hatch at least 2 of these eggs and see what happens. And just like that, after 2 eggs, we got the one we were looking for. We got Ferocious, Legend, and Musclehead with the 99 health, 92 attack, and 100 defense. Now this is pretty great, but we are missing 1 skill on here. Now you would think, okay, maybe I'll just take something that has Lord of the Underworld or Swift or whatever else you want to put on it, and I'll try and combine that into my one with 3. This could be possible, and I've done it a million times. But for some strange reason, sticking 1 passive skill on a pal that has 3, even when it's perfectly set up like this, has astronomically lower odds than if we were, say, to take this Shadowbeak with 2 passive skills and breed these 2 Shadowbeak together, the Lord of the Underworld and the Legend, and create a Legend Lord of the Underworld and bred it together where we have 2 golds and 2 golds. It's super easy to put 2 golds on 2 golds. For some strange reason, it's harder to put 3 golds with 1 gold. Possible, just lower odds. Now, just after hatching 2 more eggs. The first egg was complete garbage because I got a random gold skill on it. The second egg I got from breeding the Lord of the Underworld with the Legend was a Lord of the Underworld with Legend with 99 on the health, 77 on the attack, which is okay here, and 100 on the defense. Now this is primed set up to get our perfect Shadowbeak. We've got 2 Shadowbeaks, male and female, with 2 passive skills each, Ferocious and Musclehead on one, and Lord of the Underworld and Legend on the other, each of which sharing various IVs that we want. On one we have the attack and defense, and on the other we have the HP and defense. This means we have a very high chance of getting all the IVs passed down to a baby, as well as all the passive skills. So essentially the best way to pass down passive skills is to go from 1 to 1, like Ferocious and Musclehead, down to 2, so that way we have Ferocious and Musclehead on 1. You do this with another pair, so Lord of the Underworld and Legend, down onto 1. And then we're going to take these 2 and we're going to breed them together and get all of the 4 gold passive skills on 1. Now I've done this in conjunction with transferring my IVs down to these as well. So essentially what I've done is I've taken one of these pals that I had that had really great IVs and great passive skills. You don't have to do it this way either. I just wanted to see if I could take one random pal and breed it into what I wanted. It was a really not ideal way to do it, but just showing how much versatility in the breeding system there is really important. Now I've bred this with other pals and created a lot of failures through this. You know, I bred each line 8 times to try and get various things, but even though you're getting quote-unquote failures out of these, you can combine all of those failures into much more powerful pals. And once you start figuring out the easy way of transferring these golden passive skills, which is by combining 1 and 1s to make 2s, and then combining the 2s and 2s to make 4s, it's going to drastically improve your odds of getting everything that you want. And the same thing goes with IVs. You don't have to worry about all of your pals having all of the best IVs transferred down. It's a lot easier to focus on what would be considered a failure and transitioning that with another one that succeeded in a different area. So like this Shadowbeak has 2 out of 3 of the IVs that I wanted, and this one had 2 out of 3 IVs in the spots that were missing on this one. So it's really just a matter of targeting the gaps, combining them with other pals that fill them. This is actually going to be our first egg of our 2x2 breeding. Ooh, and we got Legend, Musclehead, and Lord of the Underworld on there. And we didn't really transfer any of the good IVs. So the problem with the IV system, and passive system is you're not guaranteed to transfer down the parents' passive skills or their IVs. There is a higher chance, I'd say about 30 to 50% of a chance to pass them down, but then there's also chances to get random mutations outside of the stats, as well as within the ranges. So it can be a little bit frustrating, but at least knowing the best way to set yourself up for success is going to help a lot. And sometimes you might experience the most joyful thing and only to be devastated moments after. I got all the passive skills onto 1, Musclehead, Legend, Lord of the Underworld, and Ferocious, and somehow got a 1 on defense, not 100, somehow rolled a nat 1. Story of my life. So after about 15 eggs, I've had varying success here. And if we open up our pal box, I have a bunch of different pals with the 4 different passive skills that I wanted, with varying results in their IVs. The best one that I've gotten so far being the 99 in HP, 77 in attack, and 100 in defense, all with the 4 passive skills. I did also get up another breeding pair with the 2 and 2. So I've been able to very quickly acquire a bunch of these Shadowbeaks with varying IVs and passive skills on them, and varying results in the IVs. The IVs definitely seem to be the most difficult part, but certainly doable. So after taking a random pal, which was a Fanglope, and crossbreeding it multiple times, I finally was able to create this Shadowbeak with Lord of the Underworld, Musclehead, Ferocious, and Legend, with a 99 out of 100 IV in the health, an 86 out of 100 on the attack, and a 100 out of 100 on the defense. I don't know why I said defense weird, but sometimes that's just the way life is. What I ended up doing was testing a few different things. I bred the 2x2s with the IVs, and then as I kind of progressed down the line and I was getting really good IVs with 4 passive skills, I started combining various combinations of these to kind of see what would pop out. And I actually got relatively lucky with this final one because I bred it with this right here, which was a 99 in health and 100 in defense and 92 attack, with a 99 in health and 100 defense and 77 in attack. So I actually inherited both the health and defense and something just in the middle of the 2 attack ones. So I'm probably going to keep breeding these and hopefully still get the 4 passive skills that I want. But really what breeding comes down to is potentially a lot of luck, but you can increase your chances of that luck by focusing on combining 2 relatively good pals and combining those 2 together, whether it be 2x2 in passive skills and 2 pals with 2 out of the 3 of the best IVs in different areas, and combining those 2 together. It seems exceedingly difficult to pass 4 of the exact passive skills that you want onto a baby, and it's just as hard to pass 3 perfect IVs onto a baby as well. So you can increase your odds by combining 2 different pals with the best in different areas, increasing your chances of acquiring all of the best stats on a baby. Now, I do really hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.